Alright, so this is going to be a recap of our last hatch that we did, our first and previous hatch that we just went through. So let's get into it. First, we have a very large brooder that we bought off of a local guy. I don't know the exact dimensions, but it's quite large, and we are keeping it in our barn outside, so it's covered from the elements, but it is not temperature regulated. We did purchase a tabletop brooder heat plate, which from everything that I had read, it's the new big thing to use and everything, and I thought that would be a really great tool to use. But after we set everything up and it was time to move the chicks out, we found that it just was not heating enough. So we decided to buy one from Tractor Supply, which was much larger, which was ideal, but it still wasn't getting to that temperature that you need, which that first week you're wanting like 95 degrees for the chicks. So we decided to go ahead and just set up our regular old heat lamps that we have. You say hi. Say hi. Oh, there's a kitty. Yeah, he's coming down the stairs. So we set up our heat lamps, and that's working well. So we have 2 heat lamps set up. We do still have the new brooder plate in there, and they still duck under there when they want to, so that's still nice. And then I just, in learning that experience, because it was our first time using the brooder plates, I just don't think they're good for being in an outdoor brooder where the temperature is not regulated. Like if it was in the house, I imagine it would have an easier time heating up to where it needed to be for the chicks, and a better tool for if you had your brooder in the house or in a garage or something like that. So the incubator that we use is the Nurture Right 360, I believe. I think the brand is Harris, but anyway, it's called the Nurture Right 360, and it can fit 22 chicken eggs. It has a divider that comes with it, I believe. We bought ours used. We just typically do that. But it does have a white divider where you can put each chicken egg in a separate section. What you see here is the divider that I put in at lockdown that I bought off of Etsy, which worked great. But it also had these little dividers that you could subdivide one of the 4 sections, and I did use these in 2 of the 4 sections because I had so many different eggs. This is dirty, you can't have it. And I think it's okay if you just had 1 egg in that little tiny section, because there just wasn't enough room for 2 eggs, and they weren't even large eggs. But I wouldn't advise using it for more than 1 egg. They seem to get a little too cramped, and I know cramped is typically fine, but their foot got stuck, and one of their feet got stuck in the holes of the subdivider, and he just had a harder time getting out of the shell, and we had a failure to thrive situation. So we did lose. Speaking of which, we did lose 1 chick. We ended up with 15. This is the last one right here. So we had 14 come out pretty much all at the same time, like one right after the other. And this incubator was packed. Like, that was 15. I can't imagine all 22 surviving and being in there. So I did move out the other chicks, which we'll show you. And this guy was the last one. And the humidity, we had to go pick up my daughter from school, and the humidity did drop. Maybe because there was less chicks in there, I'm not sure. But I couldn't keep the humidity up like I wanted, and he did get a little bit of the membrane stuck to him. But when that happens, you can always take a damp cloth and gently wipe it away, put them back in, make sure they're dry before you move them back out. So that is our only Well, it's supposed to be a Rhode Island blue. I know that's its parentage. That's what the chickens are supposed to be. So, does it look different than the chicks looked when I got the Rhode Island blues? Yes. But from what I understand of that breed, I don't know, I guess they're still developing it. So the chickens will look different from each other a lot of times. But anyway, so this incubator, I didn't have much difficulty with it, honestly. It was pretty straightforward. The humidity was kind of all over the place. Like, if you're a stickler for what you want your humidity to be, maybe this one's not the right one. You need a more expensive incubator. But I know people that do dry hatches and keep their humidity like 30 to 40%. And then other people keep the water up and they want like 40 to 50%. So this one would drop overnight. And then of course during the day I would add water and keep it between 40 and 50. Sometimes it was even low 50s. But once I read some reviews on it, and it didn't seem to be an issue. When we candled, we seemed to be doing pretty good. There were 3 eggs that definitely did not have any fertilization. It wasn't even like, oh, this one started to fertilize and it just didn't have any fertilization. So you usually see like the whole egg will glow up and kind of look speckly. And we only candled on was it day 18? I have a book of all my notes, so let's look at that. Where's it at, Belle? I don't know. No, day 14. So day 14 we candled the eggs. I did not candle before day 14. I just left them alone. That's just too much. I felt like it was too much handling, especially for our first hatch, and feeling a little anxious about it, I guess. So our first one, we had the 3 that just did not fertilize, and then there was another 3 that I just wasn't sure about. They looked like they were growing, but I wasn't seeing a lot of movements. There were a little bit of sloshiness on day 14, but when then I rechecked them on day 18, there wasn't. But that, I don't know. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure. Turns out, though, in the end, one of those eggs did hatch, and it was fine. But the other 2 that I had maybes about did not hatch. So I don't know what the difference was. I don't know if I was right. And, well, obviously I wasn't right in the beginning because one did hatch and is perfectly fine. So, I'm not sure what happened. Maybe just couldn't tell as well. And then, so we still ended up with 3 that did not hatch. So there's the 2 maybes I had about, but then in here with this guy, there's another one that I thought was good, but just didn't end up hatching. Some people like to open their eggs and do a little, investigation, but I'm not about that. I don't really want to look at that, so we're just gonna go with it. So out of 22, we had 3 not fertilize, 3 not hatch, and 1 just failure to thrive situation. So we're left with 15 healthy chicks, and I don't think that's too bad for a first time hatch experience. So after all the chicks hatched, which they hatched early, they all started pipping early. I put them on lockdown on February 5th, and that night they pipped, or one of them pipped, and then 3 of them pipped, and then by the next night we had almost all of them hatched already before like their actual hatch date. So I don't know if I just had my days off maybe a little bit, which is totally possible. But they all hatched super early, and like hatch day was February 8th. Today is the 9th, and they're already out in the brooder dry, except for this guy right there. So, and this was a learning experience. There was a lot that I've read about, just but it's different when you experience it. So that's what I mean when it was a good outcome for a first hatch. I'm sure a lot of other people would prefer better outcomes, but I really don't think we did too bad. So this was nice to be 100% hands-on and fully experience it and work out the issues and know that some things work and some things don't. So next time, hopefully with some Marans eggs, we can, which are a little bit more difficult to hatch because of the dark shell, we can have a little more experience in our pocket and have a fair hatch rate with the Marans eggs. Oh goodness, are you blowing? Is Miss Rachel blowing a bubble? Yeah, it's a good job. Alright, so, and then after all the chicks hatched, before we just threw them all together, I definitely wanted to organize them so I knew who was who, because in this hatch I had a lot of different mixes, and I had 4 that I wanted to make sure I knew who they were because they're supposed to lay green eggs when they grow up, and then all the other 11 chicks are up for grabs for local people, and I wanted to be able to tell people like what their chick was, because so many posts on Facebook about, can you tell me what this chicken breed is, and I get it, and I don't want to be a part of facilitating unknown mutt chickens, I guess. Mutt chickens are fine, but you know, if you're getting in chickens, it's kind of fun to know what your chicken is. So I didn't want to facilitate the mystery chicken syndrome. So what I did was use orthodontist rubber bands, just what you got on your braces, pretty much, just a little, when you would go pick your colors, when you got your braces changed out. So that's what I used, and they were perfect. I think these are like a 1/4 inch. I don't know where the package is. A 1/4 inch, and they fit right on the leg. I mean, they were kind of pecking at each other's feet because of the bracelets, but I think only one lost one, which isn't a huge deal. So so far I think we're doing pretty good. And when they grow up and they're growing out of those, then I'm just gonna replace them with the zip ties, which I just got 4-inch zip ties, which obviously you're gonna trim those down a lot. And you can get so many different colors. So you can organize your chickens by their egg color. You can organize them by the year that they were born, so you can keep track of who's older and who's younger. And so that's what I'm going to do. We're going to do like both systems, so by what the egg color should be, and have like a cycle, some colors for the years, so we can weed out the older ones and make sure we have fresh stock. Alright, but that was our first hatch, and I'm pretty happy with it. The chicks are good, and now we just have to find them new homes. Oh, thank you. You're adorable.